are the New York Knicks. I'm back in the New York groove. Well, it's the Knicks. New York. We are the New York Knicks. New York. For this new season we're about to enter, the Knicks is taking no shorts, just like winter. New York, New York.
New York be about the Knicks, huh?
But the best thing about New York City is
K-N-I-C-K.
Everybody say go New York, go New York, go!
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 389 of the New York Knicks Show, part of the Almighty Baller Podcast Network. And 389 is also the same amount of times I read stories saying the Knicks were just about to trade Carmelo Anthony.
It's about to happen, but when they say about to, they're talking like biblically, like the world was created in 7 days, and so that's it's like a key for a map. That's how long time is, and so about to could be 100 years.
Right.
Jay,
Yeah.
before we start talking about the Knicks, I want to ask you something.
Mm-hmm.
You told me yesterday you could not record the show because you were having internet issues.
Yeah.
And now your internet seems to be working.
Mm-hmm.
When you said internet issues, were you lying and you meant I have to watch Game of Thrones and that's why we have to put the show off today?
No, I actually watched it right before this episode.
You are such a liar.
My goal was to save up like 4 so I can watch a bunch in a row. And then I realized people are literally incapable of watching a show and then not typing about it immediately on Facebook.
Why would you go to Facebook after you know that's going to be up there?
I gave my friends too much credit to just say, like, I watched it. It was a good episode. Like, we have to get into specifics because, just posting it out there is what we do now, I guess.
But why do people have to, once it's aired, why do people have to hold off commenting?
Why don't you just talk about it in, like, a closed group? Why do you just have to blurt out, like, so-and-so did this? Like, what is the point of making that your status update?
I don't know. I mean, maybe that people really are. I don't know why.
It's stupid and annoying.
I am so confused by social media in general. Why people do anything on there.
Not
anything, but most things. A lot of things people do, I find really, really confusing. Like when someone has I wanna wish happy birthday to my wife who's laying next to me in bed, but I'm gonna wish it to her on Facebook instead, and those kind of things. We're doing a Knicks podcast, so I'm going to go back to talking about the Knicks. But you definitely watched Game of Thrones last night, and now this whole people posted on Facebook thing is a lie to cover it up.
Well, if you like that back and forth, we have a show called The Brink of Sanity, brinkofsanityshow.com, and that's pretty much what we do the entire hour for that.
Should we spend the rest of the show just revealing what happened on Game of Thrones?
I don't want to talk about anything to do with Game of Thrones.
Well, how about Game of Knicks Thrones?
Yes, which it seems like the winner is Mills.
What do you mean? He went on a long search to find a new team president, looked in the mirror, and found the best candidate.
Who would have thought?
Do you want to we have leaked audio of Steve Mills conducting the interview with former Cleveland Cavalier GM David Griffin.
Okay.
Hi, David. Welcome to this interview. I'm glad you're here. What do you want to do here?
Well, I'm very excited about this opportunity. I got a lot of really great ideas for the Knicks in the future.
Okay. Well, can I ask you some tough questions just to make sure? I know you did a lot in Cleveland, but I have some tough questions for you.
Yeah, I mean, we made 3 straight finals.
Okay. Is your name Steve Mills?
No, that's your name.
Okay. I'm going to put an X next to your name here, but I'll give you another chance. Were you employed with the Knicks prior to now?
What is happening? No, I wasn't. I was with the Cavs.
Okay, it's another X.
Leading them to a championship.
Were you involved in signing Carmelo Anthony to a no-trade clause?
No, so that should be a plus.
Plus, you're not Phil Jackson. Is your name Steve Mills?
I think we went through that one already.
Okay, sorry. Would you, if given the job, would you sit on Steve Mills' shoulder wearing a parrot costume?
I actually wanted to talk to you about the staff. I kind of want to bring in my own staff.
Oh, okay. So we kind of think of a GM being someone that comes by themselves, spends most, if not all, their time in Russia, and that area of Russia where they don't Siberia, and that person does not allowed to speak to the public or out loud for the time they're here.
Aren't you already paying Allen Houston?
You're not. How dare you rip Allen Houston? He's done so much for this franchise.
Literally nobody knows. Allen Houston doesn't even know what he does.
I don't know I don't understand what Allen Houston does here.
Nobody does.
Let's just cut to that. Forget. What is Allen Houston? He's been employed by the team. Is it just like, I know for a while they were paying him a lot of money not to play basketball, but now they're paying him not as much money to not play basketball. What does he do?
He walks around in a suit and looks important.
Literally, I want to go to his Wikipedia page and edit it and see if we can get sued.
Oh God, he is on call for any Knicks Legends nights.
Okay.
Which Larry Johnson also does, I guess.
Yeah, but Allen Houston, they keep talking about Allen Houston. He's going to be the GM at one day, or he's going to take over.
Yeah, I don't know. Nobody knows what he does. Anyway,
Houston was appointed as special assistant to Donnie Walsh. Houston is also a friend of Barack Obama.
So Houston just walks around and goes, "I'm special."
He delivered the commencement speech. This is part of his executive.
Okay, let's not read his entire.
Wikipedia doesn't know what he does.
Well, yeah, we don't need to read his whole page.
Okay.
So Mills basically gave himself a promotion.
Yes.
And Dolan said, "That's cool."
Well, I mean, Mills has. Tell me, Jay, Mills has been around the Knicks when they've made the playoffs a number of times.
Mills was with the Knicks for about 5 years.
And the Knicks made the playoffs how many times in those 5 years?
0. Then he left the Knicks for 3 years.
Okay, but I mean, those 3 years, how well did those 3 years go?
Those were the 3 years the Knicks made the playoffs. And then he came back to the Knicks, and we had the worst record in the history of the Knicks.
Is he in favor of the triangle?
Nobody knows what he's in favor of.
Step up. Still a step up.
So he did make another move, though.
Does Steve Mills have a Twitter account where he sends out tweets that no one understands, and everyone has to like try to figure out what it means, and then gets insulted when people interpret it wrongly?
So what he did do is he spent an obnoxious amount of money on Hardaway.
Yes.
And then he spent the rest of the money on Ron Baker, who we like, but he was grossly overpaid. So,
well, here's the thing with Ron Baker. You could give him the league minimum, but there was money left over, so you might as well give him the rest of the money because we don't need any more players.
Right. So then the Knicks said, well, now we need a GM, and there's literally nothing for him to do because we're strapped for money. So let's hire a guy to just sit around, I guess.
Can you imagine Ron Baker's agent calling? Ron Baker's like, "Oh, are the Knicks going to pick me up for like a minimum deal? I mean, I'm excited to play for the minimum deal. They're giving you $8 million over 2 years."
9.
You are the worst agent ever. Just stop making fun of me. Stop ripping on me. Just tell me they cut me. Okay, fine, they cut me.
So, what also happened is they signed Rick Perry, which is a good signing. He was with
signed Rick Perry.
He was with Detroit when they went to 6 straight conference finals.
Are you? Here's a question.
Yeah.
Well, I actually never mind. I don't want to. Go on.
He was with Seattle when they drafted Durant.
Rick Perry was with Seattle.
Yeah.
Okay.
His name's Rick Perry, right?
So on the one hand, I don't want to correct you because I think it's hilarious that we're calling him Rick. Before this show started, I called him Rick Perry.
Yeah, now I'm calling him Rick Perry.
And now Jay doesn't know what his real name is.
You totally got in my head, and now
Rick Perry was the governor of Texas.
That's what I thought, but you got in my head.
Well, I'm like, can we just keep calling him Rick Perry until next week when everyone's like, Jay, you're an idiot. Why do you keep calling him Rick Perry?
It's Mark's fault.
Scott Perry.
Scott Perry. So, and then I don't give him too much.
Where else did Rick Perry work?
I don't give him that much credit for the Seattle thing because it was obviously either Odin or Durant, and anyway, and
he had the second pick, so he didn't actually have a choice. He just took Durant.
He did a good job this summer in Sacramento.
Well, first of all, when they drafted Durant, he wasn't the GM, so I don't know how much decision making authority he actually had as far as he hasn't been a GM. He didn't have authority until he got to Sacramento, right?
Right. Well, I think the important thing is he's been around when good stuff has been happening, and he didn't have final decision, but he was probably a voice that was heard.
The bigger point is he's been around functional organizations, has a lot of experience with functional organizations, right?
Yeah, it's not like he wasn't ever around a team that did terrible things while he was around. So it's either a huge coincidence or he's actually knows what he's doing.
A little bit you could be in San Antonio and San Antonio does really well. It doesn't mean you're necessarily great at your job, but you've seen how well a functional organization works, and you probably will take a lot of that to build on elsewhere.
Right.
So he got fired in Orlando, but we don't. Again, since he didn't draft the players himself, we don't know how much decision-making power he had. You don't know if it's his fault that Orlando was a disaster, like the draft pick of Mario Hernanganja. Whatever. First of all, I'm not going to learn how to pronounce that guy's name until he can hit a jump shot in the NBA.
And wasn't that supposed to be the only thing he could do?
Basically, he's been around. He's got a lot of experience. He's basically the opposite of Phil in many ways. He has a ton of experience in executive level. He's a ton of executive level experience. Phil had zero executive level experience. He seems open to letting it. I don't really know that much about Perry. I was going to make up things that Perry. I don't know much about him basically. All we know is he's been involved in a lot of executive level.
It's a signing that didn't make us instantly furious, which is a nice change.
I mean, supposedly he's going to work closely with Mills. Mills said he's going to give him kind of basketball authority, and then they're going to work together, finalize decisions, which is kind of fine. I can see Perry does not have a lot of GM. Perry, what was his role? He wasn't a GM in Sacramento. This is his first GM role, right?
I think so. So my question to you is, how many times is Mills gonna say no to Perry's good idea and then just do a bad idea before Perry gets fed up and leaves?
Well, hang on. Just to defend Mills, we don't know how many good or bad ideas what Mills said is he wants to grow a young team that's going to be good on defense. That's going to be.
I don't believe a word he says.
Well, why not?
Well, because he also said his big hey, we're on the right track moment was we still have all of our draft picks going forward, as if that's supposed to be a big accomplishment. And it's also a lie because we don't have most of our second-round draft picks.
They actually gave a second-round draft pick for Perry, which I don't understand.
Right, so now we had only a couple, and now we have even less.
I mean, I saw somewhere they're like, well, it's probably going to be – it's a pick they're getting from, Houston or something, so it'll probably be a late second-round pick, so it doesn't even matter. If it doesn't matter, why does Sacramento want it? It always matters somewhat.
Yeah.
If it doesn't matter, it's a penny on the street, and no one picks it up.
Yeah.
I don't think it really, at the end of the day, is going to make much of a difference. Why couldn't the Knicks just pay some cash, pay some money, and not have to give away a second-round pick?
Because the Knicks don't make moves without getting at least semi-screwed.
The big thing so the Hardaway thing, it's done. We don't know how big of a disaster it'll be, or it could end up being a good decision. I don't know. You have no way. The Baker thing could end up being a good decision.
Mm-hmm.
It depends on how they play. Everything will be proven on the court, so we'll find out. I mean, they don't have a lot. Here's some positives. Do you know what they don't have?
Phil
Jackson? They don't have mighty to sign Derrick Rose.
that is a plus. So Perry took over, and instantly the Carmelo trade talks were put on hold.
You see, that makes sense to me. what they seem to be trying to do is they're trying to create leverage. Everyone that says that Phil didn't do anything to Carmelo's to leverage for Carmelo, and that like Phil has nothing to do with the fact that there's no market for Carmelo has nothing to do with Phil.
Right.
Who's calling us?
I don't know. Do you want to take a call?
Okay, a short one.
Okay. Well, we missed it. We'll try again. Okay. So, no, I get that. The thing that worries me now is that Houston had a press conference today to announce that they're selling the team. So now does that make it more or less likely that they would make a trade for Melo?
I think you're selling a team. You want to make the team look as like promising as possible. And
right.
So adding Melo you would think them be more likely to try to get Melo.
Yeah, that was my question. Does getting Melo make them more or less attractive?
It does. In theory, Daryl Morey thinks it's a good idea to get Melo there. So any owner is going to think it's a good idea to get Melo there. And anyone that is going to buy the team is going to be at least familiar enough that with these big star names is going to think, hey, this is a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's true. The whoever's buying is going to want to make money, and having more stars always gets you more money. And
in theory, except for the Knicks, who are worth like $3 billion and they're terrible. What do you think? Do you think Houston better off getting Melo? Like, how does this make them? It makes them better in anything. Like if you give him Ryan Anderson's role, Houston's just better.
Yeah, but the Knicks don't want Ryan Anderson, so they're
no. I don't mean that the Knicks take Ryan Anderson. I'm just saying, like, if Houston finds a way to get rid of Ryan Anderson and get Melo, just forget what the Knicks would do.
Yeah.
If you get Melo on this team, Houston is a better team.
Yeah.
So that's it. Either way, Melo makes them a better team. And one of the things that killed them in the playoffs is it was pretty much their offense was kind of got predictable in the sense of like you knew they were going to shoot a 3-pointer or knew they could they're going to basically go to the rim. They needed some in between game, and Melo definitely has an in between game. He's another creator also. He creates for himself, but he's a creator. I think Melo will make a lot of teams better. It's not like you put Melo in the court instead of Ryan Anderson. You're like, oh my God, where'd my defense go that Ryan Anderson wasn't playing?
So it looks like Portland's trying to recruit him hard now.
Yes, which is great. The more teams that are involved, if you get 2 teams involved, then you have leverage.
Right, but Melo has to actually want to go to Portland.
Well, maybe Portland wants him. Maybe he'll say, like, who was it? CJ McCullough posted a picture of Melo with something. He posted something on Twitter.
Right.
Or Instagram or Pornhub.
Picture
I don't really know.
Of Melo in a Blazers jersey. So okay. Melo has an opt-out after next year.
Right.
So if he really wants to get out of New York, he could just say whatever he wants. Yeah, I'll stay in Portland, trade for me, and then, play for a year and then do what he wants anyway.
Who gives a crap what he does when he leaves New York? Let him leave New York. Anywhere he goes, I want to watch the games. But whatever he wants to do, go to Portland, go somewhere else. He should do this. I mean, Phil was right that he's better off leaving New York. You just don't say that out loud and like insult the guy.
Right.
I mean, Phil's strategy was just absolutely insane because Phil just assumed he knew Melo well enough to know if I say these things at a press conference, Melo will go, "You're right. I'm going to wait for a new trade clause. You trade me anywhere."
It's amazing how out of touch Phil was.
Yeah.
Like shockingly.
Yeah, but let's move on. Phil, I just don't want to talk about Phil anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, we will every episode, but I just don't want to talk about Phil anymore.
Just not today.
Just not today. So I guess overall, I feel like Mills in the president role, he said, no matter how much you don't want to believe him, and the fact that he was here, the Knicks didn't make the playoffs, they went to the playoffs, I don't think a lot has to do necessarily with Mills. I know he's not necessarily a basketball person, but...
That's really good coming from our team president.
I guess basically if you, in theory, if Mills is like, if he's going to let Perry... I mean, they don't have any cap space left anyway, so who the hell knows? In theory, if Perry is a good basketball mind, the big things he brings is he's a lot of experience. He supposedly is one of those guys that has a huge Rolodex in the NBA. He knows everyone. He can kind of talk to everyone, which Phil was like, let me see. I could only call 2 teams about it. Like, Phil was very limited about who he would call and what he would. Like, at Dallas was like, oh, we'll give you garbage for Tyson Chandler. Oh, well, I'd have to make another phone call to try to see if anyone else wants Tyson. I'll just take it.
Sad, but it's true.
I feel like I don't know. They're in place. Let's just hope for the best here. It's pretty reasonable to bring in a guy that has a lot of experience in Rick Perry. So I'm excited for Rick Perry. I hope he's good at the job. I mean, most guys that come into these jobs aren't like Greg Pop. I mean, it's a different coach. Greg Popovich wasn't known as the greatest coach ever when he got to San Antonio. Most of the GMs aren't known as the greatest GM ever when they get here.
Yeah, no, I have no problem with Perry. I just it's Mills that worries me.
Yeah, I mean, I said last week, I feel like in some ways we're better off not having cap space the next couple of years. It forced us into the rebuild. It seems terrible this offseason. This season we get a great draft pick who looks like the top guys in next year's draft are going to be really good. Mm-hmm. And if Knicks end up being like Baker and Hardaway end up being pretty good, then we'll be super happy.
This is like a bizarro positive Mark.
I'm trying. You got to have some positivity in the offseason. I
think this is the most positive I've heard you in the 7 years we've been doing this show.
I mean, it's slightly more. I don't know.
It's kind of like almost disconcerting. I don't even know what to do right now.
The focus has to be trading Melo. If they can move Melo, I will be very happy. And I will give a strong positive, a strong thumbs up to Mills and Perry if they can move Melo and not get
fleeced.
Yeah, not get a bag of potato latkes back.
I mean, wouldn't it just be super awkward if they didn't at this point?
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't make a lot of sense how. So, do the Knicks owe Melo anything? I mean, obviously they owe him a salary, but do they owe him anything? Can the Knicks play hardball with Melo and go, hey, we're basically, if you don't waive your no trade clause and be a little more open about this, your role you may just sit on the bench until your contract's up.
The Marbury special?
Yeah, I mean they're like Melo's like, you would never do that. Apparently you don't follow the Knicks, do you, Melo?
Right.
And in fairness, anyone that's going to say that no, the Knicks would that's going to kill them in free agency, the Knicks have done this repeatedly. I mean, Curry didn't play. Marbury didn't play. Lots of guys do not play for the Knicks and get lots of money.
Well, I mean, I think Curry was physically too fat to play. I don't know if that was like a Knicks decision. But I know what you're saying.
Can we cut to? Doctor, what's my diagnosis?
You have fats.
Fats! Oh, my God. Will I ever play basketball again?
Are you planning on staying this fat? Because then, no, you won't.
Can I lose weight through cheeseburger? Putting them in my mouth?
We're ridiculous. We're not even forming real sentences anymore. You have fats. Can I lose weight through cheeseburger? Oh God!
I have to say,
it's amazing. Nobody takes us seriously.
It's amazing. I think if you move Melo, first of all, there's addition through subtraction. Whatever you're going to say about Carmelo, I think this team just needs to move forward. If you have Melo playing, it just takes away from minutes from the younger guys, and he's not part of your future. And Melo will be better off elsewhere. But do the Knicks owe Melo anything? It's kind of dick to say, like, here's a no-trade clause, but if you're going to exercise your no-trade clause, we're going to be dicks about it also.
It is, yeah.
But you can say, like, hey, your no-trade clause bars us from trading you to Charlotte, but you have to open it up to, like, name 2 other teams so we can, like, move, so we can trade you and find a good situation for you and us. Because right now, if it's just Houston, we're getting screwed.
Right.
And I think that's a reasonable thing to say to him. Who knows what they've said to Melo?
It seems like they're not even talking to Melo. Every report I hear is they're talking to Melo's people.
I love the fact they talked to Melo's people and they said, Melo's unhappy with the current situation. Yeah, so are we.
Yeah. But I mean,
he's disgruntled. Yeah, well, we're not planning on playing him ever again, so it's fine.
But I mean, you know how it works when you go through a third party. You never get the complete translation of what's going on.
I mean, but who knows also? Maybe they have talked directly to Melo, and they're just, for once, they're keeping something under wraps. I'm still going to be really surprised if Melo's on the Knicks come training camp.
Emails.
I think they did the smart thing. They basically were in a situation where they felt like we're not getting as much as we want from Melo. We can get more. Let's step it back, try to create some leverage, see what we can do, and if not, we may be able to just get the same deal we had before.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like they had any there's nothing on the table right now where they're like, wow, you're going to give me garbage for Melo? Oh, I better do that deal right now because you'll never offer me garbage for Melo in 2 weeks. It's not like the Knicks can trade Derrick Rose for Rubio if they say yes now and Phil just thinks they can go back to that this summer.
Right.
Yeah. By the way, Derrick Rose, you think he's pissed off right now? How freaked out he because of his contract situation of being uncertain, he didn't show up to a basketball game for the Knicks. How do you think he feels now?
Yeah, he's probably freaking out a little bit. He probably thought he was going to get $15 million a year easy.
Can we cut to the trade talks with? I know he's been talking to Milwaukee.
Yeah.
So Derek, we're prepared to offer you $4 million a year.
40?
Not 40. It's 4.0
14.
Again, not 40. 4.0. Derek, we don't have any. We
You're
can't
gonna have
pay
to write it down. Remember, I cheated on my SATs to get here, so I'm not good at numbers.
Okay, Derek. How about this? We'll give you more money if you can promise to show up to all the games.
Let me go think about it.
Okay. We can stop doing scenes. I just imagine Derrick Rose is yeah, I'm excited to play with you in Milwaukee. Max, so super max deal? Oh, not exactly a super max deal. Tell you what, Derek, if you're really good this year, we'll go in. We'll give you the mid-level exception next year. Are you upset Rondo's not going to be a Knick?
Not really. I was starting to talk myself into it, but that's what it was. I was talking myself into it.
Yeah, that's pretty much exactly how I feel. So there's not going to be a vet point guard in the team next year. Basically the vet point guard is going to be Baker.
Yeah. That's what happens when you spend all your money before you actually fill out all 5 positions on the roster.
Oh wait, you know what? This is what I forgot to mention before. So about Mills and Rick Perry. So if they're keeping all the staff, that means Clarence Gaines is still here. He's the guy responsible for or who's the guy who can actually scout. So there's a pretty decent chance our drafts could still be as good as they were under Phil.
Yeah. No, that's true.
So, and that's the big thing moves they're making. The big moves, since they don't have money to spend on free agency, the big moves they're making are draft picks, basically. And the other thing I said, didn't Mills say that one of the things that upset him was how Phil undermined Hornacek last year?
Yeah. So that might work.
That actually was if you want to talk about positive, that's him saying that. He doesn't have to say that. He and that's a big thing that one of the big things Phil did wrongly was undermining his coaches.
Yeah.
Making them look like puppets. Here he's like, hey, I think Hornacek he's the coach. He should be responsible for the offense. He has full power with this team. And that's a huge thing you can do for a coach. Last year, basically, we didn't blame Hornacek for a lot of stuff that happened because we were like, well, what's the deal? basically, Phil has his hand up his back and pretends it's like he's talking for Phil. No one's taking him seriously as coach, so it kind of just screws Hornacek and you can't really blame him for things when Phil's here.
Yeah, we don't even know if he's a good coach.
Yeah, so here this year, if the Knicks are bad, you'll just say maybe Hornacek's doing a bad job, or actually, they're set up to be. They're probably going to be bad either way if they get rid of Melo, but
yeah.
Okay, so the Knicks basically the Knicks have to fill the rest of their roster with the league minimum.
Yeah.
Unless they move Melo and free up some cap space.
Yeah. Right now, as currently constructed, there is no room to do anything except minimums.
Would you trade Courtney Lee and Cock?
Definitely Courtney Lee. I mean, what are you going to get for Cock? He makes $4 million a year.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's probably
and he's not even that old. So, like, what's the point of that?
Yeah, that might not make sense. Last year at this time, we wanted to trade Cock.
Yeah, I mean, last year we didn't know what we were doing.
Cock has grown on us, right?
Yeah.
Do you think Cock has grown on you?
I see what you're doing here. It's Kylo Quinn, folks. Don't freak out.
It'd be weird if we just like pick a different player or just call him Cock. Yeah, supposedly they have a little bit of money left. They're trying to use that money to sign Damian Dotson, the guy from the second round pick that was pretty decent in the D League.
Yeah.
Not in the D League, in the summer league.
Mm-hmm.
So I imagine they'll get a deal done with him. I'm excited to see what this team could do. I mean, like basically there are a lot of things that can go tragically, I mean, just horribly wrong with this team. If basically Frenchie ends up being just woefully unprepared for the NBA, then that's going to be a huge issue next season.
Yeah.
Since you don't really have another point guard. Like, Baker's not really a point guard either.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. The thing is, as long as this team's fun, I'm fine with it. Like, we know they're going to be bad, but if they're, like, bad 2007 miserable, it's not fun. But if it's a young, entertaining team, I'm okay with that.
That's what I'm thinking also. Like, Hardaway, as whatever you want to say about the contract, he may not be, I think on a reasonable deal, we'd be happy to have him here. And I feel like he's a player that could be a fun, streaky player.
Yeah.
There was some nights if Melo's not here taking all the shots, Hardaway's going to get a lot of shots, and some nights he'll score 25, 30 points and 30 points. And some nights he'll go 1 for 11 and be like, Hardaway's killing us.
Yeah.
The offense will be a lot more open. Should be interesting to see how Porzingis plays in that kind of offense. In theory, him and Frenchie will kind of grow together. In theory, Baker plays a lot of defense. There was a clip I retweeted someone put up of Baker playing like a hell of a defensive sequence. Basically, he was going over screens, like contesting shots. He was doing all the things the Knicks aren't usually allowed to do.
Yeah.
Hornacek also said that he wants the Knicks to be embarrassed if they don't play defense, if they're not giving defensive effort.
I mean, you gotta hope that people get held accountable going forward. I mean, there's no excuse not to. I mean, especially if we trade Melo, it's all young guys who haven't even earned the right to play a lot. So,
yeah, I mean, and Hardaway said when he went to Atlanta, he said that he was told he's not going to play till he can improve on defense.
Yeah,
and he said since that he knows he has the ways to go on defense.
Yeah,
so
that's the way you do it.
Yeah, I mean, if you get rid of Melo and the ego there, you have everyone here is young who is going to be hungry to play defense, except for Noah. But at least Noah, whatever you want to say about Noah, he does preach effort and preaches defense.
Yeah.
So I feel like he's good $17 million mentor for players.
Great.
I feel like this team is going to be a fun team. We're going to be a very bad fun team. I feel like this team, as constituted without Melo, we're winning between 20 and 25 games, which will be a painful season, but we'll see a lot of promise in this team.
Mm-hmm. NYKnicksPodcast@gmail.com. Nick writes, he sent us a link to Hoop Stats, a good look at Hardaway Jr. He ranks very high amongst shooting guards. And I think the Knicks have never had players in the top 20 of anything under 25 years of age for a long time. So,
do you know Hardaway and Baker are among the top players in the league with their surname?
Also, the new GM is not a bad hire because it isn't flashy and isn't the usual Knicks hire. He's a lifelong NBA guy. Let's see what happens with the Melo trade. This could be the start of something good. Yeah,
the real Knicks hire would have been actually hiring Rick Perry. That's the kind of move the Knicks would have really made. This is the fact that it's not flashy, we should be excited about.
So Hardaway, in his position, he is actually 14th in field goal percentage. It seems like he's improved a little there.
Yeah, he's gotten better.
I'm not going to do attempts and stuff because that's kind of pointless. Efficiency, 22nd. 30th in assists, 29th.
This is among guards.
Among shooting guards.
30th in assists sounds pretty low.
34th in rebounds, 37th in steals, 40th in blocks. So he's a bench guy.
Let's not revisit, obviously his move for the money they gave him was not necessarily wise, but he does, by the way, Jonathan Simmons is getting $6 million a year.
Yeah. We could have had 2 or 3 guys for what we're paying Hardaway, but we'll try and remain positive.
I want to say let's remain positive about the Hardaway thing because, again, in theory, he's a young player who will be getting better, and if he's made one of the centerpieces of this offense, he could end up being a lot better. I asked on Twitter or Facebook what do you need from Hardaway to make his contract seem worthwhile? And most people said something along the lines of, if he scores 18 points a game, gets us 3 or 4 assists and 3 or 4 rebounds a game, I'm going to feel okay about the contract. And all those things seem within reach.
Facebook.com/NY Knicks podcast. Mark puts up a question every single day.
Yes.
Alan
Patreon. Jay wants money.
Patreon. So we are patreon.com/NY Knicks podcast. Patreon. Podcasting's expensive, and we don't do ads. So if you want to sign up, you could pledge as little as $1 a month for Patreon. We give 4 to 6 hours of free content every month. That's worth $1, right?
Jay wants to recover the cost of doing the show. Also, Patreon/Derrick Rose. He's not now getting a max deal, so he's hoping his Patreon supporters can get him a max deal through Patreon. So if you like Derrick Rose and you just want to give him, minimum pledge is $100,000.
And I want to sincerely thank the 2 people who have signed up for Patreon. They were very generous.
I'm not laughing. I'm only laughing. Thank you very much. You guys are very generous. I'm laughing at Jay thought it would be a lot higher at this point.
Higher than 2, yeah. But, it's a start. It's only been up a week. And we also owe an apology to Chris Flynn, who put together our website. We called him a random guy a couple weeks ago. He's not a random guy. He did a great job on our website, thenewyorknickspodcast.com.
And those people that, who writes for our website, Jay?
Nick McGowan's been doing most of the articles this year.
Yes.
William Lee did it the year before. So there's a few people.
Okay. Thank you guys very much.
And coming up, if anybody wants to write for the site, nynickspodcast@gmail.com.
Yes. If you want to write for the site, we'll write you a recommendation for college.
Alan writes, "Hi guys, I wanted to clear up the stretch provision. It's double the length of your salary plus 1. For example, Noah's 3 years and $54 million left, so it would be 7 years at $7.7 million. Can you imagine if they did something like that?
Holy.
I also believe we shouldn't stretch him for 2 reasons: cap space in 2020. Oh my God. Or we can use his expiring contract as a bargaining chip in the 2019-2020 seasons. From everything I've read and listened, the hiring of Scott Perry is a good thing. He's talked about having a good team on paper, but they don't gel as team in reality. Seems like a good talent evaluator and well-respected through the NBA and media."
The other thing is, he was in Orlando and they got fired, and not everything you're going to do is going to be gold, but just because someone was around a situation where it didn't work out doesn't mean you couldn't have learned from that situation and gotten a lot better.
Can you imagine the thought of paying Noah until 2024?
Oh my God. That would be insane. The Knicks are better off, in my mind, of having almost no cap space for the next 3 years, force the team to play the young guys, and just build.
We are at NY Knicks Podcast on Twitter.
If anything, 3 years from now, when we have a ton of cap space, that'll be the perfect amount of time for the young guys to get better, kind of grow together, and then you add some veterans to the mix, and then you build a really good team. At that point, you have Porzingis coming into his prime. You have Frenchie, 3 years in the league. He could be starting to get really good. You got the number 1 pick in next year's draft being really good right away. I don't know. Tim Hardaway, it's going to be maybe he'll actually be worth re-signing at that point, or he'll be worth you'll be glad he's there for the 4th year.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a trivia question for you. When was the last Knick signing, Weasley big money signing, where the Knicks were excited they still had the guy on the team at the end of his contract and didn't try to trade him?
That would be.
And it could be a guy they re-signed as a Knick, or it could be a guy that was signed as a free agent.
I feel like I'm already mentally going back to the 90s.
I mean, it's got to be like Patrick Ewing.
Yeah, and they ended up trading him anyway.
But it's like a guy that at the end of his contract you weren't ready to trade him. I'm sure, I don't know the details of Patrick Ewing's contract, so I'm sure he had one. It was over, and the Knicks signed him to another contract. Yes. I don't know the answer to this question. I'm just I was trying to think of it, and it's got my brain just started hurting. Because it's been so long since we signed a guy in free agency, or we signed a guy to a big deal that was already a Knick, and we were glad we did it.
That's what happens when you sign guys 1 year before the end of their prime to a 5-year contract.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's been pretty bad.
Melo hater on Twitter. How come people wanted Phil gone because of how he treated Melo, and Melo's too stubborn to leave, but now Phil is gone, now Melo wants to leave. Melo's ego is the same reason a good coach in D'Antoni left, and why we gave up 3 decent players and 2 first-rounders.
Yeah, read the question again. I just want to hang on. His basic point is that...
basically, Melo didn't say he wanted to leave until Phil left, and now he's saying he wants to leave.
Yeah, well, wasn't the rumor that Melo waived his no-trade clause at the deadline, and Phil just didn't pull the trigger?
That was one of the rumors. Also, maybe he was just trying to screw Phil over for being such a dick to him.
Yeah, I mean, calling him a ball hog, doing all these things through press conference after press conference saying he should leave. And Melo may just said hey, if you want me to go, talk to me. Don't do this crap to the press. I don't like this. I've been super I may have not been the player you wanted, but I haven't changed my game, but I've been Melo the whole time.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to think that Melo, from his standpoint, thinks he's done nothing wrong, because he's the whole time I've been here, I've been the exact same player you signed.
Yep. He also writes, what's Chris Smith up to, and should we bring him and his dad Woody back?
That'd be pretty nice.
And was it worth trading for Melo? One good season, and how come Melo can't recruit any stars, good players, to play with him ever?
I don't like this this whole why can't Melo recruit stars to play with him? It's the GM's job to recruit guys. There are not that many players that recruit other players. I understand LeBron's a whole other level of a player.
Well, also it's the franchise is a mess.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody's gonna. If you say you want to play for the Knicks right now, most people are going to say no just because the team stinks.
Good free agents want to play for good teams or get way overpaid. That's how you recruit guys. That's it. Either have a good team or way overpay for a guy.
Yeah.
I mean, Kevin Durant's never going to be I could win a title in Golden State or stay with Oklahoma and compete for a title, or go play in that whatever the hell they're doing in New York. I can try to decide which New York franchise is more of a dumpster fire and choose that one. Because why not? Because I'm into charity.
Mel Hader also wants us to get Kristen and Tommy D as guests on the show because they seem to battle on a regular basis.
Okay, well, are they going to battle on our show? Because it's not worth it unless they battle on our show.
I'm sure they wouldn't get along if they were both on the show.
Oh, my God. Hey, Tommy D's been on our show twice, right? A long time ago.
Yeah.
It didn't seem like he was making stuff up when he was on the show back then. And I read his Knicks blog when he had the Knicks blog. It didn't seem like he just made stuff up then.
No.
Why did he change?
He did it for the money.
I don't know. More questions?
That is it for Facebook and Twitter.
I mean, Twitter and email. I have Facebook questions.
I mean, email and Twitter, yes.
Okay. Jaime writes.
We thought we weren't going to have enough to talk about. We're already 45 minutes into the show. Okay.
I think next show, it's barring Melo being traded, I want to talk about the league, all the free agent moves. Jaime writes, what is the plan to make amends with Kristaps? My understanding is Hornacek is going to go to Latvia, they're making a European trip. The European Championships, whatever it is, they're going to go and they're going to meet with Porzingis.
We are getting a call. I'm going to have to hang up on you and call you back because Skype is a mess.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello.
How you doing?
Hey, Jay, what's up, man?
How's it going?
Good, how are you?
Good, good. I am going to patch Mark back in because Skype is weird, and it makes me hang up on one person to talk to the next. All right. I'm adding Mark now. This is Stefan,
Hello?
right?
Hey, Stefan.
Hey, guys. Hey, I'm not on my car phone. Do I sound more clear today?
Yes.
Yeah, you sound more clear. We only have a short time for you, just because we have to do the Facebook questions. But hit us.
So, guys, I'm sorry. I tried to plug your show on ESPN with Anita Marks, but she cut me off before I could.
And now you ended up plugging her show on ours.
I like it. I you know what I have to say? Anita Mark. I have to say, when I heard a female, not to be a sexist, when I heard a female voice on ESPN radio, I was like, I'm not going to listen to some female talk about sports. And I was like, oh, Anita Marks makes some good opinions. I'm going to listen. She's pretty good.
Well, she didn't like my idea. I told her that that the Knicks should do it when they sit down with Melo. Just tell them, listen, make a bigger list of teams you want to get traded to. Otherwise, you're coming off the bench. And she didn't like that idea. And I was like really stoked to tell her about it. I thought it was a good idea.
Why didn't she like the idea?
She didn't think it was viable. She's like, oh, Melo's he's not gonna pick more than 2 teams. You want him to pick 5 teams? And I was like, well, if you tell him he's not starting, you bet he's gonna write 5 teams.
You tell me he's not playing, or he picks 4 teams. Say, like, let's cut the Is that so insane for the Knicks to do? Can the Knicks not do that?
I mean, honestly, the hard part is he has a no-trade clause. The hard part was convincing him that he doesn't want to be here. And I feel like we already kind of did that. He was like upset that we kind of held back on the trade talks. So I feel like that's a step in the right direction to kind of making him, be more lenient about some of the teams that he'd be willing to go to. Because, I mean, it doesn't seem like he's going to Houston. They don't have anything to give us.
I mean, you can also go to Melo and just say, hey, you have to let 2 more teams into the picture. We'll trade you. We will promise you we'll trade you to, say, Houston. But if you give us Portland in the mix, then we can get some leverage and get a little more from Houston. If you do us that, we'll get you to Houston.
And then go, psych, you're in Portland.
That would be great. Oh, we promised you. Oh, well, have fun being a trailblazer.
You promised you'd play defense for the last 7 years. Bye.
Guys, by the way, who is Rick Perry? Is that like a senator?
Yeah, that's a Texas senator. Mark said it right before we started doing the show.
Actually not a Texas senator. Thanks for knowing nothing, Jay. He was the governor of Texas for 2 terms, and then he is now our national secretary of energy.
Ah.
And he ran for president, and he looked. People gave him some crap for not seeming like he was the brightest bulb. It was the knock.
So then, when he ran for president, he bought a pair of glasses.
He ran for president because he did decline the next GM job that they offered him. So.
Yeah, if you can't be, I mean, that's the same thing. Trump is president because he couldn't get the job as Knicks president.
Because the Knicks refused to drain the swamp.
Yes. They're like, he's like, I'll take the job if you just drain the swamp. And they're like, stay away from our Allen Houston.
Are you guys doing questions?
Yeah, we were halfway through the questions when you called.
Oh, okay. Do you want me to? I want to tell you guys one thing about Tim Hardaway Jr. that I read. Do you want me to tell you what I heard? I think I'm really excited to hear this because I know you were really high on Caldwell Pope. How about I'll hit you guys with these statistics about Tim Hardaway and Caldwell Pope.
Okay.
And then I'll hang up and let you guys finish your show if you'd like.
Sounds good.
So Jay, excuse me, Mark. I was actually feeling the same way at first about Tim Hardaway. I thought I preferred Caldwell Pope.
Okay.
But so here's some facts that I heard on ESPN. I jotted them down. I hope I wrote them down right. So let me just pull open my list here. So Caldwell Pope, out of all the shooting guards in the NBA, this guy came on and he ranked all the shooting guards in the NBA. Caldwell Pope is ranked 60th in shooting percentage. Tim Hardaway Jr. is ranked 18th in shooting percentage. Let's see. The PER.
That's my favorite.
I don't know if I wrote it down right. They said that Tim Hardaway Jr. has a 17 PER and Caldwell Pope has 38. Does that sound right?
That does not sound right.
No, that's definitely not
No.
right.
That could not be right.
38 would be
maybe
the greatest PER of all time.
That would be
Yeah,
that would make the Lakers 1-year signing for the greatest player ever. Would be
I think LeBron's best year was 32.
Jay, maybe you can fact check me at some point, but I also heard their plus minus, and it seemed like Tim Hardaway Jr. actually had a better plus minus than Caldwell Pope as well. So kind of made me look at him, and he's not as bad maybe as we think, because Caldwell Pope's a horrible shooter.
Caldwell Pope's PR was 12.8. So the big thing with Pope is, so it's not, which is not great. 15 is league average, so you want to be above 15. No one's saying Caldwell Pope is an amazing offensive talent. They just think generally he could shoot 3-pointers, and they think basically the talent is there where he can get better. What people really like about Caldwell Pope is they feel like he's a very solid defensive player. And the question with Hardaway really isn't. Everyone's kind of happy with his general ability to score. Hardaway. They're wondering, can he pass? Can he do more than just score? And more than anything, they're worried about, can he play defense? But his defense supposedly has gotten better in Atlanta, but no one thinks he's even a league average defender yet. He's got to get to the point where he's at least a league average defender. But they're both young. They're both similar ages. There's no reason to think Hardaway can't get better. And to say Caldwell Pope is a million times better than Tim Hardaway is. There's no proof actually that he's a million times better.
Yeah, I also don't. I don't feel that bad about Caldwell Pope now that I realized he got almost $18 million
for 1 year.
Insane.
It was 1 year, but it's still for a player like that. That's like a $10 million player.
Yeah, it wasn't like you were getting such a better deal with Caldwell Pope. If anything, you were getting just a similar contract, just much shorter length. And he obviously, the point of that contract is that next year he'll be seeking a max deal.
Well, he better play much better if he wants that.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, it would still be an issue. If you sign Pope here for a 1-year deal, it wouldn't make a lot of sense either. You kind of want a guy that will be here for a couple of years and kind of grow the team.
Well, the 1-year deal sucks. I mean, if he plays really good, you have to overpay him, and then if he plays bad, you lose him, and you just wasted a year of development.
Well, the Lakers want cap space, so it makes sense for the Lakers. But
because they're going to get LeBron. So
yeah, they're getting LeBron. So it's a given. But I agree. I agree with you. The getting so upset we didn't get Pope over Hardaway is kind of ridiculous.
Guys, can I just say this? I remember I called in or I might have written in right before the beginning of last season when we just signed Derrick Rose, or we just traded for him, and I was convinced that he was going to be great. And you guys kept bringing up that he's his advanced metrics weren't great. Let me tell you, I never really appreciated how valuable advanced metrics are when you're looking at a player until having to endure this whole season with Derrick Rose. Because now I understand what a negative plus minus actually feels like on your team every game of the season.
I mean, it is I would agree with you, Derrick Rose, especially because you watch him play and you watch him get to the basket, and you're like, wow, that guy's good at basketball. How could the Knicks lose with that guy? Because you don't pay as much attention to the fact that he's not anywhere near his defender, doesn't do anything, doesn't pass to Porzingis when he's open. You miss all the things that he's not that would make him a complete basketball player and make him the guy you really need.
He's lacking everything that makes him an asset to have on the court. And,
right.
That pretty much
score,
sums
but
it up, yes.
That's it. That's all he does. He does nothing else. It was horrible to watch him play last year. I didn't realize, I knew he was a bad defender, I didn't realize how bad of a defender he was. He's one of the worst point guard defenders I think I've ever watched on the Knicks in a very long time.
That's exactly. He was almost worst in the NBA his last year in Chicago too. So that wasn't much of a surprise to me.
But it's also like that's why they started playing Baker more. And you watched it, Baker. Baker was not a great shooter. There were a lot of things offensively he was kind of limited. But the Knicks would just go on streaks with him on the court. They would play a lot better because now you have a guy that's covering the other team. The guy is doing the little things that actually matter.
Well, guys, thanks for letting me come on real quick.
Yeah, sure.
One last question.
Thanks for the call.
One last question.
Sure.
I know that Steve Perry, he's not allowed to change up any of the position. Like, he's not really allowed to fire and hire in the office. Do you think Kurt Rambis is going to start the season? Because he was kind of Phil's guy. I'm surprised he's still an assistant coach because I don't think Hornacek likes him. That's what it seems like, and players hate him. Do you guys think he's going to be on the squad? I hope not. I think they should bring in a really good defensive-minded assistant coach. Thanks for letting me on, guys. Cheers.
Yeah. I'm shocked that Kurt Rambis is still here. I have to think he's not going to be here come training camp. I don't know. What do you think, Jay? Jay?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, yeah. The fact that he's like still on the team is just really weird.
I imagine there might be some more cleaning house when it comes to the staff. I think a lot of people are keeping their jobs, but I think a few people will lose their jobs too.
Yeah.
I'd be really surprised if that doesn't happen. I think they were. I think part of it also probably is. I think Perry's gonna have a lot of say over this stuff also, and so getting a guy into place that'll have say. Like I don't think Mills necessarily want to make all the decisions himself.
Yeah.
So Jaime writes, if the Blazers get Melo, do they get any better?
Yeah. Yeah. The Blazers are. They're not that good beyond McCollum and Lillard, so yeah, Melo makes.
No, they got what's his name, the center. They're from Denver. Who could actually be really good, too.
He could be. His defense looks really bad so far, though.
He actually didn't look that bad when he got to Portland. His defense even looked better, also.
I mean, maybe that'll be one of those trades where both players end up in a better situation and both look better. I'm talking about Plumlee and Nurkic.
Yeah, I think it was a kind of a better fit for both players. Stefan writes, who's just on the show, would you guys prefer keeping Melo for now if we can't get a point guard back for him in a trade or trading him at all costs?
I'd say trade at all costs. If we don't have a point guard, maybe we end up with a number 1 pick next year. So
I want Melo I think Melo also just takes a lot of shots away from guys, and I want those shots going to Porzingis and Timmy Hardaway because those guys are more of our future than Melo is at this point. I think Melo slows down the offense. Addition to subtraction, nothing against Melo, but he's not where the team is going right now. So getting him off the team I just think they should be able to get something back for him.
Yeah.
Jaime writes, who do you think is the breakout all-star in this summer league?
I mean, I gotta say, Ball has looked way better than I thought he was gonna be. The guy had 2 triple-doubles in 4 games.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't put a lot of weight into the summer league stats. We'll see what happens when the regular season starts.
How about Damian Dotson?
Yeah, with Damian Dotson.
Nobody expected him to be good.
He's a second-round pick. The next thought you'd be like, you have to think you draft the guy in the second round. You have to think like he can at least play pretty decently in the summer league. At a minimum.
But a lot of times that doesn't even work.
Yeah, we'll see. Like he's going to hopefully be on the roster. I mean, how if you draft the guy in the second round pick, it means the guy's on the roster, right?
No, a lot of second round picks don't end up on the final roster. I mean, a lot of teams don't have 5 open spots with no money to spend either. So
these guys will be on the roster. I don't remember who the other guy even is. Gillum writes, I don't know if you saw, but according to ESPN and analytics, Frank has the highest all-star potential. Yeah, I saw that actually. They said they ranked everyone based on like most like it was like a surefire, like lowest ceiling, highest ceiling, all different things, and they thought Frank had the biggest chance to be the star of all the guys.
Really?
In the top 10.
Okay.
You saw this, right? We emailed about this.
I don't know.
Did we not?
Remember that. No, I don't remember that.
Okay. Andrew writes, who are the best and worst Knicks writers? Just trying to sort out the trash.
I like the posting guys.
Yeah, I was gonna say Chris Herring used to be the best Knicks writer.
Yeah, I know, but he's
now he's national.
He's national now.
Who are the? I don't know. I don't know who else are the best.
Nick McGowan from the New York Knicks podcast.com.
Yeah, Francisco writes, would you rather watch every single Knicks game, or skip the whole season? I'd rather watch every single Knicks game, I may come close to that.
Yeah.
Gillum writes, am I the only one who thinks Balls, Lonzo Brothers, and Father are ugly as hell? Who wins the contest, Lonzo versus Anthony Davis?
An ugly contest?
Yeah, an ugly contest, yeah.
I think Lonzo. Somebody morphed a picture of Drake and Screech from Saved by the Bell, and it looked just like Lonzo.
Ron writes, do you feel that the signing of Scott Perry will assist in changing the Knicks culture? Literally what we say every time we hire someone new.
Yeah, considering he's not allowed to actually change the culture, he just has to sit there.
Hey, Mills, can we change the culture? No. Damn it!
I wonder if he's going to walk in and Dolan's going to be like, you're not the lead guitarist from Aerosmith, you're fired.
Yeah, I think, so the Knicks are saying Mills, you may not, Mills and Scott Perry are saying the right things right now, which is worth something. It's worth as much as saying the right things is worth.
Great. So exciting. They said right things.
Jaime writes, so no Mets question because what's the point? They suck this year. But do you think the Knicks move to Nassau Coliseum to see if it's a culture change? Are the Knicks going to move from MSG to Nassau Coliseum? I don't think that's going to happen, even in the most crazy of jokes.
Right.
Paul writes, search hard for some positive guys. We are in control of the Melo situation. Either way, we win. Unless, of course, we nick it up and take back a ton of expensive D. Ross. Dross? What's D. Ross?
Dross.
What's Dross?
Bad stuff. So, yeah, that's pretty much every scenario. There's a lot of good things can happen unless we nick it up, and then we always nick it up. But we were positive almost this whole episode, so...
I think I'm trying to be positive here. I think the Knicks are not going to... should we start in Perry we trust?
There's always that Mills looming over his head to veto what he does, though.
Yeah, but we don't know if Mills is going to just make a lot of bad decisions yet. So I'm going to hope with our dream team they somehow work this out.
Sounds good.
We know the roster, so mostly.
Yeah.
And we've overpaid for most of the roster.
Except that
we've actually overpaid for everyone that wasn't a draft pick. We've overpaid for.
Yep.
Well, everyone that was most of our rosters. The only guy that's not overpaid is Cock. I guess in Courtney Lee's not really overpaid.
And Hernan Gomez.
But he was someone they drafted. I meant.
Oh, okay, yeah.
All the guys they brought in, whatever. Gillen writes. Jaime writes, so Steve Mills said that Melo could be part of the Knicks easily if he doesn't get traded. How does that make you feel? Do you think they have any plans to actually keep Melo on the team?
No.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Gillen writes, they're actually not playing their hand like Phil was.
Yeah, it's just everyone's confused. You're supposed to tell us what you're going to do in the media.
Right.
Gillen writes, would you be happy with Dolan if he finally spent as much as he can and bought the Rockets, then traded Harden to the Knicks? That'd be hilarious. They let Dolan buy the Rockets just so he could trade all the players to the Knicks.
That would be really funny.
You know what would be the best part? Is then both Houston and the Knicks would both suck. Gillen writes, have you watched the press conference? Are you happy with what they said about building a young athletic team based on defense that competes every night? Something Phil mentioned when talking about trading Melo. How do you feel about the new front office compared to when Phil first took the reins? remember Mark repeating in Phil we trust. I was very excited about when Phil took over. I figured with 11 rings, he probably knew what he was doing. I was a little worried about I wasn't even that worried about his lack of experience. I just figured, like Pat Riley, he would figure this role out and be really good at it, and he'd be someone that Dolan would just be completely hands off with. Phil I was completely wrong with, but am I gonna be wrong 2 times in a row?
Well, that would be a first.
That would be a first. I'm never wrong 2 times in a row. It's never happened. So don't screw this up for me, Scott Perry.
Oh, going back to Summer League, Sugarloaf Legend wrote, Summer League is so relevant. Clay Anthony early was putting up 18 points a game when he played in it. That is true. And we also can't forget the Summer of Balkman.
Yes. And didn't Jerry Grant was the Summer League MVP?
Yeah. And
we were like, oh, God, we got rid of Jerry Grant, and he was garbage last year.
Yeah.
Summer League really does not matter. So I like what they're saying. I mean, you can't not like what they're saying. And Phil may have talked about going young and athletic, but that was like 3 years in after 3 years of not doing that.
Yeah.
Bruno writes, don't you guys fear that the Knicks will win more than they should next year? The East is weaker, and even with the Knicks being bad, I think we once again win some meaningless games that will haunt us when we get to the draft and miss out on Doncic and Porter.
I am fearful of that with the roster as currently constructed. If we sell Melo for bad contracts and trade Courtney Lee, then I am pretty confident in this team being a train wreck.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, to get a top pick, we have to win like 20 games, right?
Yeah.
Around there.
Yeah.
I have to say, you get rid of Melo from this team, the team is going to be... I mean, the team without Melo the last couple of years has been horrible.
Yeah.
I don't see this team winning a lot of games. I would be really shocked. What's your prediction now?
I can't make a prediction when we don't know if half the team's getting traded.
I'm going to say Phil's with Melo being traded. I'm going to say 25 games, which will be a little bit too many. I'll be too many games. I mean, they're not going to win. They're not going to get the number 1 pick. That will go to the Nets, who will go to Boston. That's more of a guarantee. That's 100% guaranteed.
Well, I don't know if LeBron leaves, maybe Cleveland will get the number 1 pick again.
Yes, or maybe the Lakers will get the number 1 pick.
Baker Taker says, where do you realistically see this team in 3 years?
3 years from now, I think the team will, coming off a 40-win season, young team, ready to add some free agents to like put this team to the next level.
I mean, 3 years, Noah comes off the books.
And you have Noah's contract is off, Melo's contract is off. It's a lot of money.
Oh, by the way, we haven't talked about. Everyone is saying Porzingis is too weak. He looks jacked lately. Have you seen his workout videos?
Only after hours. I watch them.
He's he's really been hitting the weight room. So
I don't know. Like up the upper body's like I want him to work on his legs, and that's about it. I don't want too much weightlifting.
I mean, it looks proportioned. It doesn't look like, he's not walking around like Anthony Mason was.
I don't know. I just like you watch the 30 for 30 on the Lakers and the Celtics. Those guys didn't really work out, but they were really good. I think the whole work, you don't need necessarily big muscles to be a great NBA. Like you don't need to like the rip frame, the rip.
Yeah, no, I was always against that argument anyway. I mean, you had Garnett and now Durant. Like they're really skinny and they're doing just fine.
I mean, they're both really strong guys. Also, you don't see it as much because they're kind of big. What you really want is the leg strength. The leg strength is the biggest thing.
Sugarloaf Legend writes, "What do you think Frank Tilikina will average next season?"
I'd say like 11 points a game, 4 to 5 assists a game, 4 assists a game, shooting around 40%. I mean, I don't think he's going to have a really great first year. I think the first year is going to be tough for him.
Yeah, I would say 9, 3, and 4.
Yeah, if his shooting percentage is definitely not going to be about 40%. If he gets the 5 assists a game, I'd be really excited. You cannot expect a lot from this guy being 19 years old. Yeah, you can't expect a lot on a team that's not really ready. Like on a young team like this, everyone's going to be bad.
Yeah.
What about Porzingis? Do you think Porzingis will be similar stats to last year? Will he get better?
I think he's going to be better. I think he's going to be much. He's going to make a leap the year we actually have a point guard.
Yeah. Well, but that in turn, if he's making a leap, then you think Frank's stats will be better. Frenchie's stats will be better.
No, I'm not saying it's going to be this year. When we have like an actual good point guard.
Well, Frenchie is our good actual point guard.
He's not. You just said he's not going to be good this year.
I know. Yeah, no, you're right. I expect probably similar numbers that he put up this year. Maybe a little better.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I am very excited to see a more of a running offense and see I feel like Porzingis will look great when they're running. Could you hit Porzingis in traffic? He's going to score for you. Yeah. I feel like he can finish at the rim. He is such an exciting player when moving because he's so hard to stop.
Exactly.
I hate when they give the ball to Porzingis 17 feet from the basket, and they're like, "Okay, Porzingis, create your own shot, 7'3" guy." To get in the ball while you're moving, run. I feel like in an offense that moves, he will be so exciting to watch.
Yeah, I agree.
Gillen writes, and overall, Bruno, I'm a little worried that they'll win too many games this year. At the same time, the team should be bad. Maybe the team will end up winning 35 games this year, and it'll be even though they'll get a worse draft pick, it'll be exciting because the team will look really good.
Yeah.
To get this team to get 35 wins, you have to be pretty excited about them because there's so many young guys. Gillen writes, so now the rumor is that Portland wants to take part in the Melo deal if they get Melo. Assuming Melo accepted to go there, would you accept a deal for Melo for Crabbe and Harkless? Do you think there's a chance the Knicks could get a better deal for Melo, be it sending him to Houston or anywhere else? If you think so, what deal? Crabbe and Harkless, what do you think?
If we could get a pick with that, I'd do that.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I think Crabbe, I would take a chance on Crabbe. Gillen writes, do you think there's a good deal for the Nets to take on Carroll's 2-year, $30 million contract for just a first-round pick that'll probably be around 25? Because I don't think that's really that valuable. And secondly, he asked, do you prefer to use $15 million in cap space like the Nets did, or 17 like the Knicks did with Hardaway? My point is the chances of that pick ending up being near Hardaway's level are very slim.
That is true, but they don't have the beast.
Wasn't Hardaway the 24th pick in the draft?
That's a good point, too.
Yeah. So there's a chance the guy you pick would be Hardaway, actually. But that's a good point. That's a solid point, yes. That
I think I heard, I think it was the Bill Simmons podcast that I think one player ever picked between 20 and 30 has made the All-Star team.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That can't be true. That can't be true.
I feel like that can't be true, but I don't know.
And that's also kind of even if you say that, but you could have the last player taken in the second round is one of the best players in the league right now.
Yeah.
Not that it happens that often, but I don't know. You can't just say, well, that means those picks are worthless but you don't want to overvalue those picks either. And can say a number 25 pick is so amazing that oh my God, we got it. We're so happy.
Yeah.
No, I mean, Gillen makes a good point. Yeah, in theory, probably if you're going to spend the exact same amount of money, you're probably better off taking Hardaway than paying $15 million to Carroll to not play with, or to waste $15 million a year on Carroll.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. Gillen writes, last week when you were talking about Hardaway Jr., you said something like, you hope his field goal percentage would go up by 2 points to consider he was getting better, and so on. Did you know that that his true shooting percentage was better than any Knicks player last season with 5.68? Highest of Knicks was Willie with 5.64, Melo with 5.35.
Jesus.
We should do some research when we talk.
I don't know if that gets me excited about Hardaway or depressed about just the Knicks in general.
I think Hardaway's shooting percentage could still go up. And that's actually a very when you the true shooting percentage percentage, which is a very important stat because it includes like the 3-pointers. But I'd like his overall field goal percentage to still go up. I want him shooting closer to like 48, 49% because that would take him to the next level also on offense.
Yeah.
But that's a very good point as well. Declan writes, if Declan?
Yeah.
What do I call him? The Clan. Okay, the Clan writes. The Clan writes, why all these white guys? Why are there more white guys than the Knicks?
Oh my god.
Declan writes, if Hardaway becomes a solid second scoring option next to KP, and we're a playoff team within 2 to 3 years, does that justify his contract at all? Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I mean, if he plays up to a $17 million player, yeah, but
yeah, if Hardaway is the second best like offensive player on this team, and the team is a playoff team, then yeah, his contract is totally worth it.
Yeah.
Like I feel like we're all in agreement that there's a chance like Hardaway could improve to get to his to make it like his contract be reasonable. Versus Noah, no one thinks his contract he's ever gonna get to the level where his contract's worth makes sense.
Well, that's because it won't.
It won't. Like he's just on like at least Hardaway's entering the prime of his career. Noah entered the prime of his career 5 years ago.
Yeah, Noah's toast.
The Clan also writes, also, would you rather Baker as our starting point guard this year or Rondo, but he's on the multi-year deal? Personally, I would choose Baker. The Knicks need all the defense and effort they can get. So would you rather have had Rondo on a 3-year deal or Baker on a 1-year deal? Or
Honestly,
Baker on a...
Somebody was arguing with me that Rondo is a good teammate. You remember in Dallas where he quit in the middle of the playoffs and the entire team voted to not give him his playoff bonus?
Well, he's a good teammate, or else all these teams wouldn't want to have him on their team. I mean, Chicago's trying to rebuild. I mean, there's a reason they're not re-signing him because he's such a good teammate. They want to spread the wealth, spread his love elsewhere.
Right. Yeah, that one offer he got.
Yeah, Chicago's trying to rebuild also, and Chicago's not like, let's keep Rondo here because he's good for the young guys.
Right.
The fact is, the Knicks either Baker will end up make the Knicks a lot worse. That's fine. Or Baker will turn out to be a really good NBA player, and that's fine also.
Yep.
Play the young guys. Find out what happens. I guess I was saying that before. Like, why can't we just go into the season with Baker as our starting point guard, just see what happens? And apparently, maybe Steve Mills likes the New York Knicks podcast. What did we learn today, Jay?
That's all our questions.
There was when we said we weren't going to record, see if anyone put a question there.
And Sugarloaf Legend wrote, who's better, Brandon Knight or Derrick Rose? Derrick
Rose might be better. Martin wrote, can you guys talk about the Liberty and how Isaiah Thomas has turned them around? And hashtag no, just kidding, no one cares. And then Gilliam wrote, now Melo will get, because we had to delay the show one day, said now Melo will get traded and all the questions will be outdated.
When I saw Houston and New York were both having 2 p.m. press conferences, I thought that it was actually going to happen at workout.
Oh my God. When Jay emailed me that and I was like, oh my God, this is really happening. They're going to do a joint press conference and say Melo's gone. It just happened to be a goddamn press conference tease.
Yeah.
So let's make predictions. Over under. Melo is here. Melo is here till August.
August 1st.
Yeah.
We go under.
Oh. Okay. I guess I'll go over. I was gonna say under. I would say he's gonna be traded by August.
Yeah, I think they're gonna sit on it another week and then it'll really ramp up.
If he gets traded, will the decision be announced at 5:30 p.m. on a Friday?
No, it'll be announced at 9 a.m. on a Monday just to screw our podcast.
That's true. That's true. But the Knicks always should make decisions. They're like, it's 5:30 on a Friday. Steve Mills is team president. Bye, guys.
All right, so thanks for listening, everybody. NY Knicks
Yes.
Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, NY Knicks Podcast at gmail.com, patreon.com/NY Knicks Podcast. And if you pledge more than $10 a month, then you get a Knicks Podcast t-shirt.
Hey, so what if someone pledges $12 a month, can they come over your house? Come over your apartment?
No. So
what would it take? What would it take for them to allow someone to come over? Like, what can they do with you? Or to you?
Well, I mean, like...
Will you, if, let's say someone pledges $20 a month, will you have a regularly scheduled lunch with them once a week if they're in the New York area?
No, that seems like a lot for $20.
If they pledge $100, will you give them a reach around?
Thanks for listening, everybody. We will be back either next week or the week after. We'll see. But we'll be back soon.
Okay.
Yeah. Good night, everybody.
Bye, bye, love. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye. It's all over. Goodbye. It's time to go. This is the end. Say goodbye. You better go away. I'm gonna leave you. It's the end. Goodbye. Goodbye. Just leave me alone. Feels so good to say goodbye. I'm sick and tired and I'm saying goodbye. Goodbye, girl. Goodbye, 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 everybody.
Oh, Paul Pierce retired as a Celtic.
Cool. We thought we were going to get in all the free agency moves for every other team in the NBA tonight.
I figured we won. Like, it's like we're gonna have an episode in August where there's nothing happened, and we can just do all that. We can just, instead of just like going, we can just go team by team and just go through what the moves they made.